episode 2 of the Heroes Table. As you can see on the screen, I added name tags this time. I'm Hisha, and with me are the co-hosts Talubius and Midnight. And we will introduce all three of us a little bit later in the stream. First off, I will just go through the agenda. So let's check here. Today, because we kind of messed it up last time by not recording the stream, because apparently that was a very hidden setting that was tricking us, we will run through a similar agenda as last time, and then we will move into a new topic, which will be the Augur this time. So we'll start by introducing Eternity, and then we'll explain a little bit more about ourselves, and then we will explain more about the Heroes Table and what you can expect from this. But I will leave the introduction of Eternity to Midnight, who will explain a bit about this. Go ahead.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So Eternity is a turn-based RPG that combines the best of Web3 and DeFi 2.0 into a game that is fun, engaging, rewarding for players, and as you'll find here, has a deep backstory and world that we are building with you guys, with the community after we launch.
Awesome. So I guess that's a good explanation. And now we will move on to introduction of us, and I can start with myself. As I said, I am Hisha, as I'm known on Discord, and I'm a software engineer. I have recently started working with, more specifically, Web3 stuff, not related to Eternity, but other interesting things. My background is that I've been in DeFi for at least a year and a half, and general crypto stuff for a little bit longer than that. And move on to Talubius because he's next to me on the cams.
Hi, yeah, I'm Talubius. I've been doing DeFi for about a year now. Still learning, and I'm in America and just interested in the story lore. That's why I'm here, and being involved in the community.
Cool. Hey guys, I'm Midnight. I am an attorney by day and a nerd by night, and been in DeFi for about a year now. I sort of skipped the more centralized aspect and dove right into DeFi. So I think I bought my first blue chip like a few months ago. So I've been in here for a while and been on the team for a while, and definitely been enjoying working with these guys and helping them build, the world we're going to show you.
Awesome. So I'll just quickly go through the introduction of the Heroes Table here. Some people might remember it from last time, but since we have sorted out the recording this time, I will go through it again for people who might be watching this later on. So the Heroes Table, the purpose of it is really to present information or communicate with the community, because we want Eternity to be more than just a game that you play. We want it to be a community, and the Heroes Table is our way, or our window to the community, and your window to get more direct interaction with people involved. So that's what we want the Heroes Table to be. And for that, the format is also set up as such, in that we will have part of the show to be presentation of the topic that we have decided for any given episode. Last time it was the vampire, this time it'll be the Augur, and next time it'll probably be something else. It doesn't always have to be lore, that's what we decided to start with, but essentially it can evolve into anything, and hopefully also guided by the community, so you guys can let us know what you guys want us to discuss and stuff like that, and we will adjust to that. Part of the show will also be a Q&A session. we still have to figure out exactly how much time to allocate to each part. Today will be a little bit different because we also have this introduction in the start, which is going to take the first few minutes of the stream. But during the Q&A, you guys can ask questions, preferably about the topic that we have been discussing, and this time you can also ask questions specifically about this show, and like what we plan to do with it, if you have some questions that hasn't been answered so far. And I guess you can also ask questions about us. Whether or not you want to answer is, of course, to each person's discretion, but at least your questions are welcome. So what to expect from the Heroes table? Essentially, expect it to be a more, it's a relaxed way of us providing information to you guys, and you guys asking us for information. We may not have the answers to all of your questions since we aren't developers, any of us, so we might not know all the information, but we can definitely answer the questions that we know the answer to, and we might also get some support from the developers to answer some of the questions. We'll have to see about that when we get there. But yeah, that's about 10 minutes into the stream, so I think we shouldn't waste more time on this. You guys can, of course, ask questions, and I think we will have some people in chat willing to answer some questions as we go along, but otherwise we will be answering questions at the end of the stream. For the first few streams here, we're trying a 40-20 split, so we have 40 minutes discussing the topic, 20 minutes answering questions. That's usually how it's going to be in start. We might change that split depending on how many questions we get. If we get a lot of questions, we may allocate more time. Okay, so for this episode, we also have something very exciting to show you during the Q&A, but you'll have to wait and see what that's all about. So without further ado, I will give the word to you guys to discuss the Augur. Yep.
We're getting some feedback that our audio is lagging and it's very robotic.
Okay. That is not cool. Is it fixed now? Is it still bad? If one of you guys could listen in. I can't listen in because it will go through the stream as well.
Oh, I got you. Hold on. I mean, it sounds good to me, but...
Yeah.
Okay, so whoever was reporting it before can let us know if it's better now. If one of you can just keep an eye on it, I will get the chat myself as soon as I can. I can also follow along.
Whatever you...
Yeah, go ahead.
Good job, Hisha.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Okay. Awesome. So as I said, I will let you guys discuss who the Augur is now. Again, if anything, like if the problem with the audio was terrible, then we might have to do the introduction yet again next time. We'll see. But yeah,
just part of the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. Okay, go ahead. Who is the Augur? The word is yours.
So I'm actually really excited to talk about this character. He is awesome, and I think the backstory introduces some huge pieces of Eternity that you'll learn more about. Teaches, the story includes not only just who he is as a person, but introduces these different aspects of the world that we've been building, as well as being a super awesome character. So the Augur has humble beginnings. If you tuned in last episode, we released the vampire story. Well, the Augur, shocker, is the vampire's husband. So he is a farmer. She was a baker. They lived a simple life. And as you can read on the vampire story that we've published now on our Discord, there was this catastrophe that happened, this curse that took over the land. And if you'll remember that in the vampire story, her husband was gone. He had taken their harvest to a nearby city to sell it in the market, and he's gone. So, I'll sort of skip most of that introduction stuff. It's really well written. Huge shout out to Heimdall for editing and focusing, and everyone else for really getting that clear and making this story as awesome as it is. So he's coming home and he sees a dark cloud and he's like, "What the hell is going on?" And he starts rushing home. On his way home, he realizes that night falls. Boom! As soon as he hits the border of his homeland, Vampiria, and is concerned. He has a wife and his family, and so he starts heading home. And along his journey, he sees a strange creature eating some meat on the side of the road, and that sort of freaks him out. And he keeps rushing home, and when he gets home, he finds all the lights off. Everything's dark. It's quiet, and he starts looking for his wife in his house, very concerned. As he's going up the stairs, he finds her, or she finds him, if you will, and tackles him to the ground and tries to eat him. She's so consumed by this hunger from this curse that is, spread across his homeland, that she is trying to eat him. And in reflex, they wrestle some, and he ends up pinning her to the ground and is getting ready to kill her. He had picked up a knife in concern, and he had her pinned down and was ready to kill her. And he realizes that she is crying. She is screaming and trying to attack him and eat him, and also bawling at the same time. And he realizes in that moment that his wife is still in there somewhere. Something has happened to her. He doesn't know what. He doesn't have that same background that we gave in the vampire story. It's from his perspective, is just this unknown catastrophe that comes while he's gone. And so instead of killing her, he decides to trap her, and he does that successfully in a room. And it's there that I always feel the Augur's journey begins. He at that point, he makes a vow that he will figure out what has happened to his wife and to the land and his family and to the land that he loves, and he will search for a way to return them to normal, to how they were before this catastrophe. And really, in my mind, he leaves that farmhouse a changed man. He goes to the city, and he starts studying magic to try and find this answer, this cure to this curse, and finds out that he has sort of a natural talent for magic unexpectedly. He'd always been hesitant of magic before, this unknown, mysterious kind of force, and finds that he has a talent for it, and also finds quickly that he's not going to find the answer he needs in the city. And he's not going to find the answer he needs in this sunlight of magic. He has to look for the ancient, dark, buried parts of the world and of magic, and sets out from the city with this little bit of knowledge about magic and starts exploring eternity. And through his exploration, he gains the nickname the Augur for traveling around the lands of eternity, helping people with his magic and helping anyone that can help guide him or give him a little hint or piece of what he's been looking for, of dark, magic that's been tucked away in little corners forever. Along his journey, he finds hints about a source of power, and so he starts exploring that. That takes him into a cave, and in that cave, he finds a portal. There's dust covering this cave, and he sees a portal and notices some oddness around this doorway. It seems to shimmer, and he passes through it and immediately steps out into a hot, blazing desert on a cliff. Sees pyramids and lush gardens and decides, it looks like, everything else is desert as far as I can see. Sounds like I should probably go to where the vegetation is. And he starts traveling and trying to cross this desert expanse between him and the garden, and ends up passing out. So he wakes up in this odd place, dressed in odd clothes. And to make things more odd, an odd man comes in through the door, and introduces himself as his host. Um, Notices immediately the man has an Anubis head and sees this as odd, and the man introduces himself, and seems like, as you will find out later on, there's something that each of them can give to each other. But being a good host, this man Chisisi, and I'm probably going to mispronounce it, but it's a great name, Chisisi. They go out to eat a meal, and they're eating this meal in these lavish gardens. He's regaining his strength, and he looks up and notices a starless sky, black swirling in the distance. And he asks about that and what they gain in this conversation. And you'll read the whole story when we post it up on our Discord, is that Sisi is a guardian of this land and the land beyond where the Augur came from. And he's been given these powers by the gods of life to protect against the gods of death. And that is the swirling mass you see. In exchange for these awesome powers, he is trapped in this land, guardian of this land, and the pyramids around him produce a barrier to keep the gods of death at bay. So after this, odd story, but the Augur has heard Otter and his adventures. They part ways, finish the meal, finish the conversation. Augur goes to sleep and wakes up to booming, massive reverberations shaking the room he's in. And it turns out the gods of death have had enough of being held back, and they've decided to concentrate their efforts, break through this barrier, and they're doing so. And the Augur runs out into the open air and looks up and sees this swirling black mass of appendages, fists, tentacles, everything from these various gods on the other side are slamming into the barrier, and they start becoming more and more coordinated. And they realize that when that barrier goes down, everything is dead. They're dead. The land is dead. So they have to act quickly. So Chisisi, being trapped in this world with this power, and the Augur wanting this power but not being trapped in the world, they quickly come up with a plan, and the Augur ends up taking on Chisisi's job, the role of protector. In doing so, he takes a vow to the gods of life in this cosmic conflict and gains Chisisi's powers, and they rush to with Chisisi's guidance, rush to a hidden room, find this awesome staff, the eagle of flame in it, and they start running towards the portal, realizing, a sense of urgency building as this rhythm, this pounding continues. The pyramids start weakening, the barrier is bending, and they're racing around this complex to get what they need and get out. At this point, Chisisi has given the Augur his power, and as a part of that, has become a part of the Augur himself. So he grabs this weird staff, and they start running, and the Augur realizes that they're not going to make it across this desert expanse that the Augur could barely make it across coming in. And that's when the power of the staff comes into play. The eagle in the staff emerges, grabs the Augur, carries him across the cliffside as the barrier breaks. As massive hands, tentacles, feet, everything come crashing down into this world. The gods of death have broken through and destroy the pyramids, hurling huge stones at the Augur as they're flying through the air, and they end up making it safely. Spoiler alert. And the eagle disappears back into the staff as the Augur rolls into this other world, back through the portal, back into this damp, dark cave. And he turns around as he comes through, and the portal collapses. The world on the other side has been consumed. The portal that connected those worlds closed just in time to save eternity. This is the first of many times that I think our characters will be able to do that. And again, he has been transformed and changed. In the haste and all the chaos and rush, the Augur didn't notice that not only did Jasisi's power in absorbing him change, his abilities and gave him great power, it also changed his appearance. As you can, when you see the art of the Augur, you will see that he too has this Anubis head. This transformation is again, I think a big part of the Augur. He turns from a wanderer into, someone. He's not wandering anymore. He's found what he's looking for. He's found at least what he thinks he's looking for, and he's returned to the world of eternity. Now a greater being, but also a greater warrior in a larger conflict. Really expands who he is and what he is and his role in this world. So at that point, he doesn't quite know what to do, and Jasisi suggests there's a king that's put out a call for heroes, for gold and for glory, and please come help my little island. We're concerned we need heroes. So the Augur decides to answer that call. And it might be trite or whatever, but I think he answers that call not knowing where it will take him. This little thing of answering a call from a little island and a king, as we know, will take him much further. And that's where we find the Augur.
Very interesting. So, that's very interesting. Also, I like the dramatic presentation. It was very engaging.
Thank you.
So I was a bit curious about this battle between like the god of life and the god of death. Is that something that is also important to eternity, or is that only important to this other world that the Augur managed to travel to?
That's a good question. I think this in creating this world, I think there are different layers of narrative, from the micro, who the Augur and being the husband and trying to help his wife, to just a world of eternity, and you'll hear more about sort of cross kingdom conflicts as we go on, to really a cosmic level of story, of world, of conflict. And I think the gods of life and the gods of death provide that cosmic level conflict that we will talk much more about, as we also talk about all of the different levels of conflict. But yeah, they provide that extremely high level of not just the world of eternity, not just the land you're standing on, but that conflict drives itself through every dimension, through every plane of existence. It is a constant battle on all fronts, old as anyone can remember, including the gods themselves. So yeah, it's really important to everything in this world, this universe.
So we also
Yeah, I think.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say, yeah, I think we see a thread that kind of flows through all of the stories of the characters to show that there is definitely a macro conflict going on. And I'm curious to know how much did Chisisi know, and how much of that was transferred to Scard the Augur.
I think that's a great question. When, during the last episode, I sort of talked briefly about this idea of perspective and how it's been so much fun to play with characters' perspective. And that's why I mentioned before, the Augur's perspective as he comes home and there's this curse. And I think Chisisi's perspective is still an unknown. he has this idea and he knows about this larger conflict. He's endowed by these power, by the gods of life with this power for a reason. But how much he really knows about this conflict and the players on both sides and where and how this conflict rages throughout dimensions and really this whole universe is really unknown. And when they sort of joined together and the Augur absorbed Chasisi's power, he didn't seem to also gain every piece of knowledge he has. Chasisi's very much a guide, an internal guide for the Augur along his journey. But I think that's something we could really explore
Mhm.
as the story goes on. Jasisi feeding bits of his maybe he knows everything about this. Maybe he knows just what his personal, experiences. But I definitely think that's a good question and something that we'll definitely explore as we continue this journey.
Cool.
So I was also wondering, last time we learned from the vampire story that, and you also mentioned it this time, that the vampire or the Augur is the vampire's husband. And we learned last time that he was away when the darkness took over Vampiria. So once the Augur discovers this cave, I don't recall if you mentioned this, but does he already know that this took place, or is this while he's away that all this happens, that he discovers the portal? And in relation to that, is the darkness happening at the same time in Vampiria as the Augur is away, or is it afterwards or before this?
Gotcha. In terms of timeline, so before the Augur makes this transformation, the darkness comes. He is a simple farmer, and he takes his harvest to the city, and he knows nothing about where his life is soon to take him. And he's just trying to come home to his wife and live his simple life when it all gets turned upside down. So really, it's after that he starts. He loses the simple farmer life and starts investigating and learning about magic and these little pockets of almost forgotten wisdom and power that he explores in an effort to find a cure for the darkness. So it's in terms of timeline, he sort of goes from simple farmer coming home to this catastrophe to wanderer and purveyor of fine magic, if you will,
Mhm.
trying to gain more knowledge about this world in an attempt to cure his wife. And it's on that journey that he learns about this portal and some hidden power inside of it, but he doesn't really know much more of that, more of too much what to expect before he goes to the portal and um, sort of finds somewhat, or finds what he thinks he's looking for.
Hmm.
Whether it is the answer or not, we'll find out.
All right. So we also learned from the vampire story that the vampire banded together with these other. Well, were they also vampires or
Hmm.
infected people from Vampiria? How
Hmm.
does that relate to the Augur? I assume he comes home at some point. The dark. We know he was away when the darkness took over, so he comes home and the darkness has taken over. Um, how does he relate to this group that the vampires banded together with? Is he part of that group, or is um, are the vampire and the Augur separated by that point? Uh,
So at that point, they've separated. After the vampire is cursed, she's consumed by this deep hunger that we talked about it in the last episode, and that really strips her of most of her humanity, except for that very core that the Augur still sees right before he thinks he's going to kill her. It's just in the depths somewhere there is still the wife. But that hunger consumes her for an extended amount of time, just like everybody. And it's sort of hard to convey this passage of time and how much time has passed, but really it's a while. While the vampire is combating internally with this hunger, the augur is on this great journeying across the world of eternity. So those two things are sort of happening in parallel, and I wouldn't say they happen at the exact same time, but the vampire slowly works on this hunger, works on restoring what humanity is left, and what control she can gain. And as she's gaining that control and is finding these similarly minded vampires that she'll leave with, the augur is on his journey, sort of bringing it to not a conclusion. It's really more of a beginning, but for our purposes, it's the end of his backstory and the beginning of his story. So I think those two things are sort of happening in parallel. She's internally struggling, and he is externally struggling. Um, and that will sort of lead them, for different reasons, lead them to the same place.
Yeah, because we also figured out last time that they actually ended up having some kind of fight where it was pretty close to either of them killing the other, I assume. So, and that was what led to the vampire finally deciding to, or at least figuring out how to do something about it, and ending up banding up with these other vampires. So was that also the event that led to the augur trying to come up with a solution, or was he already thinking about solutions before this event? Like how much after he returns is this event? Is it immediately after, or does it take some time for him to even find his wife, because everyone is kind of corrupted and like this?
Yeah, I think when he is returning from the city after selling his crops, he sees something is wrong with his homeland. You can see it in the distance. Then, it's darker. It's midday, but it looks, dark over in the distance. And so he rushes home. It takes him a little while, takes him some time just to travel the distance. But that conflict between him and his wife, the augur and the vampires, happens sort of immediately as he gets home. He knows something is wrong. He suspects something is wrong, and then he hits the border of Vampiria, and it's night in the middle of day, and he knows something is wrong. He sees this creature on the side of the road as he's riding his wagon. He's lit his lantern, and he sees this creature, and he's been looking for people. There's no one to be found. There's no life to be found. He says, "Hey," and this bloodied face looks up from something on the side of the road, and that really freaks him out. Obviously, you're a normal guy walking down a normal street, and things look kind of weird, and a creature eating a chunk of meat on the side of the road turns and looks at you. It sort of freaks him out, and at that point, he rushes home, and he arrives home, shortly after that, to find his wife in this state, and they have this conflict, this wrestle where he pins her down and almost kills her. And that conflict, I think really drives a lot of motivation on both sides. That, for the vampire, that is her realizing what this hunger has done, and how much damage it has done to her as a person. She wants to kill her husband. That she's crying as she's trying to kill him, really, showing that internal conflict between this deep hunger that she has been cursed with, and the human part of her that still remains. Well, at the same time, it drives sort of a more external conflict for the augur. It's really a transformative time in that house. He comes home, finds his wife, almost kills her, decides not to, and both of them are fundamentally changed, I think, as a result of that. And that conflict is really a turning point for her to work on returning some humanity and some control to herself. And for him, that memory drives him across the entire world of eternity into learning magic. It drives him into another dimension and drives him into a cosmic conflict because he wants so badly to be with his wife again as she was.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So we have about 2 minutes until we go into the Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, you can already start writing them in chat now, so we can switch over immediately. And unless you guys have any more you want to discuss for the last 2 minutes, I guess we can introduce this new super awesome feature that we want to feature during the Q&A. But it's up to you guys.
Sounds good.
All right. So what we're gonna show today is a feature that is built into this engine that has been made by the devs. It's a kind of a replay feature. You can play a battle, and then when the battle is over, you can actually replay the battle exactly as it was played out. So you can watch it again, or other people can watch it potentially. I'm not entirely sure exactly how it's going to be used in the exact implementation of the game yet, but it's definitely a cool feature that we want to show off. And specifically, we also want to show it off so we can show off some of the gameplay as well.
Yeah.
Of course, this preview will not include live gameplay, so we won't be playing the game. We'll just be showing a preview of a game that has been played. But it gets the idea of what the game is at this point, or at least this part of the game. Of course, this is not the whole game. This is a very small part of the game. And also, everything you see here is, of course, subject to changes. This is like an early version of this battle system, so keep that in mind as you're watching this. It will play out during the Q&A, so it won't be like we won't sit here and watch the whole thing and then go into questions. It'll kind of run alongside the questions, because it's taking a while. Like battles in this game aren't just gonna be like 2 minutes of fighting. So I just wanted to present that. Again, keep in mind that what you're gonna see here is an early version. It might change. Just keep it in mind.
Yeah, this is very, very alpha, but it just shows that the engine does work. So, and there's characters, animations, spell animations, icons, information, especially the hover over information as well.
So I don't see any questions in the chat right now, so I guess I can put it on the stream, and then we can kind of discuss what we're seeing as it's happening, and then we will take questions as they come in. So let me just put this over. So right now we're seeing kind of the end of the battle that was played, and I'm gonna refresh it now so we get the replay. So it's gonna start here in a minute. Okay. So this is the first one you sent in our chat. So I guess you can try to explain maybe how you tackled it, if you had any strategy, maybe.
So to be honest, I was half paying attention. So I was just trying to, I guess I just realized that the replay doesn't show.
Yeah, it doesn't show the buttons you clicked, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that stuff. So maybe next time we can get into that when we actually show the live game footage. But I mean, essentially, you're getting to see the animations, and some of the enemy characters have placeholder characters at the moment. The thief and the orc shaman obviously aren't right, but the bandit and the dockworker are, and then our 4 heroes are correct. And you can see the augur and the vampire that we were just talking about fighting together right there.
And
the way this is, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Okay. So what I was going to say is, if we don't have many questions, we might have some time to show a live battle. I can just reset a new one after this one, if we don't have
Okay.
any questions by then. So then we can even do a live showcase this time. But yeah, you can just continue.
Oh, I want to mention real quick. Not you're watching a replay of a game, but this it seems like a little thing here. Watch a replay of a game, but this you can rewatch every battle that you've fought. You can, if you lose and you're trying to figure out where did I go wrong, that's something you can come back to, revisit and see, okay, this is sort of where it turned. Here's the collection of abilities I used. Here are the strategies I used. Where do I need to revise it? And for some of these bosses, I think you're going to want that perspective, that ability to see where your strategy went awry. But yeah, you can rewatch any battle that has been played or will be played, which I think will be great for those tough boss battles.
And to add on to that, you can also see down here, you also have a log that tells you exactly what happens every turn, so you can follow that. And you can also hover over both your own characters and enemy characters to see stats about them. Also keep in mind that the stats in this instance is still work in progress and placeholder, but it just shows that this is a thing that you can pay attention to also during replays. You will also be able to do this during live replay or live playthroughs.
And one thing I've noticed that I want to specifically point out here is they mention you can't see the abilities along the bottom, but this is not an automated battle. This is each of the abilities. You have a set of 10 abilities to choose from with cooldowns and status effects that you've seen with the poison and the regen and all of that. It's not an automated battle, as you'll see, is kind of common with some of the current crypto games out. This is a true to form RPG that you need to build a strategy for.
Yeah, so those yellow bars that are moving back and forth are real-time counters.
Mm-hmm.
And there are abilities to haste or I should say just buff or debuff the movement speed. And each skill has different time effects as well, just like you would be used to in a normal turn-based RPG game. So it should be familiar to people who play turn-based or real-time turn-based RPGs, because it's kind of both. It's got it is by turn, but it's also it makes me think like more like the middle to late Final Fantasy style games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I can show what Midnight is talking about in a minute. Once this concludes, I will just we'll just get a new battle. I'll just click new game, and then we'll get into a new game. I don't know if we'll reuse the characters. Otherwise, I might need some help in selecting the proper characters.
Yeah. And I also want to say, you can see in the course of this battle, it's hard. It's not easy. The AI is not like it is difficult. You need to work on a strategy and stacking buffs and debuffs, and it's really hard. I've really enjoyed playing it, but it's hard. 75 turns in.
So in this case, we got defeated as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we have any more to say about this particular replay, or should I just also, do we have any questions? I can check the questions while this is running also. So you guys.
I would just say that from just a character standpoint, that this group of people I picked isn't in any way like efficient for anything. I just picked the 4 I know that are ready to go because they have all their stuff done. But I mean, this may not be like the best configuration to start out with. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and that's gonna be like a whole different aspect of this game. Like you have to
Exactly,
figure
yeah.
out and not only you have to figure out which characters are the best combination, you also have to figure out which characters are the best combination in this event that I'm about to partake in. So like there's like a huge meta game about that as well, I imagine.
Yep.
And like
Yes.
and there will be a lot of other things as well. Like this is just one small part of the game. I think it's important that we stress that this is not the whole game that you're looking at here. This is like a small part of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's start a new game then. Let's see, how is this? Okay. So we have the Augur. Hopefully I'm not leaking anything here that I'm not supposed to. We have the vampire and the assassin, and what was the last one?
Warrior.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're level 10 here. We can adjust that, I guess. Cool. Let's see.
Yeah.
So this is more like real time. Like now we're actually playing the game. This is not a replay anymore. We'll just wait for it to become my turn. Apparently, all the enemies get a turn before me this time. Okay, so now you can see at the bottom here I have my abilities. And
there we go.
I'm not that familiar with all the abilities here, so you can see there are descriptions of the abilities. And then there are some math stuff here. If I was better at math, maybe I could figure out which abilities were better. And then, well, I'm just kidding. I'm very good at math sometimes. So we can see if I hover over an enemy here, we can see this guy has 600 health. This guy has a lot more health. This looks like a really tough battle, actually. So I would probably try to go for this guy first because he has the least health. And my thought here is if I get through people faster, there's less people to damage me.
Yep.
So I would go for this guy. So I just clicked on this guy without changing my ability, so I just used the default one, or the selected one, I guess. Let's try a different one. You can see which one is active by the highlights here. It's actually very cool. So let's just go for this guy again. And you can see we're also causing some bleeding. I don't know if we get more details. Okay, we do that in the status in the corner here. You can see this guy has bleeding for 110 damage per turn. And again, numbers here likely subject to change. Let's see. Try this one. Let's see if we can end this guy, which we can. Awesome.
Oh, I do have it on good authority that there will be combos.
Okay, that's very nice.
Character combos, yeah.
Do we have any questions so far, or is the chat very silent still?
It's silent.
Okay, maybe people are just
yeah, well, to be fair, we didn't tell them we were going to be doing this.
That's true. So we did tell
Maybe
them
next time we probably should.
I guess we can do gameplay again next time and then actually announce gameplay. I think we just called it a secret this time, which is probably why people
Yeah.
they didn't know what to expect.
So also, all the animations are not complete, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, essentially consider everything you see here as like work in progress. Alpha
absolutely.
Yeah, you can also use Omen here. What pow? From the Augur. That did the trick. Okay, I'm not actually sure. Do we have healing in this set of characters? I guess the Augur can do some healing, right?
Yeah. It's not, that group's not very good for that.
Yeah, it gets really hard without group healing.
Yeah,
abilities.
the optimization of character min-maxing is going to be a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, I'm probably playing through a little bit quicker than you normally would.
Well,
take more
just
time
to
But
give people.
Again, since all the numbers here might not be final, it doesn't make sense to go too deep into all the numbers at this time.
I would also notice or note that folks may have noticed when Hisha was hovering over a character that there was equipment pieces for each of the character, and that will be, that'll also play a big piece in this, the additional buffs or debuffs that the equipment will give you, sort of gives you that edge. And of course, all the equipment is are NFTs with varying rarities. You can buy and sell them in game, all of that kind of stuff. So
You can see it under the items here to the left. And yeah, I guess I guess the item names here might also. I don't know if it's going to be the final equipment that they start out with, or if this is just like to get equipment on them for testing. But yeah, as Midnight said, this is all going to be customizable as you get new equipment and characters you can equip it on. I'm also not sure if any equipment is going to be restricted to certain characters. I assume there's probably going to be some characters that are limited to like melee weapons, and some are maybe to magic weapons like staffs and stuff. But I'm not sure how all the equipment is restricted to characters, or maybe you can even put everything on all characters, and then they'll just either maybe they'll just suck with it if it's not like fitting for that character. I'm not sure how the devs are gonna tackle that.
We do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How much does it cost to play 10 or 50 turns? And I think probably looking for the expense of that. And I'm not sure we really have a good answer for that at the moment.
So I'm not sure, is it expense in terms of like on the blockchain, or is it in terms of like what you need to pay in order to get the characters to play the game? Or what kind of expenses are we talking about here?
Blockchain.
Yeah, so we also discussed this a little bit last time, but I guess it's a good question to get also this time, because this is also recorded, so we can refer to this in the future. So essentially, the idea here is to limit the amount of blockchain interaction as much as possible. So it won't be like every time I make something, I make an action here, I have to submit a transaction. It's essentially going to be the way I imagine it, at least. I don't know if this is confirmed or anything, but the way that I see this working out is essentially you will approve a transaction to get a battle. Then you will play a battle in your browser like this without any disturbance, and then you will submit a transaction to kind of prove that the battle is concluded.
Yes.
So there will be like 2 transactions, maybe only 1. I'm not sure. It depends how it turns out in the end, but at least that would be my guess, like 1 or 2 transactions. So I would say it should be fairly reasonable gameplay-wise on the blockchain at least. Now, this is only for the battles, of course. There might be other transaction types for other parts of the game, so I don't know like the entire picture, but at least for the battles, I imagine like 1 or 2 transactions.
Yeah, I would say so. The game's, being hosted on game servers like any other online game would be. So you're going to interact like off the chain to play the game. So you're not going to have a transaction every single time you make a move or click a skill or anything like that. That's not how this is going to work. Yeah, the number of turns won't matter because you're playing it off. The game itself's being played off the chain. Oh,
and then
I just got
integrates. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
One of the North just said that the no blockchain costs outside of gas for starting and stopping a battle.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And there are no saves. You either win or you lose that battle.
So I assume if you don't want to finish a battle, you have to lose because you forfeit the battle. Is what I'm assuming. Since I think if you can't save a battle, then if you somehow don't want to finish it, I assume you will have to concede. You can't win.
Yeah, I mean, part of the structure of the game is to have that risk associated with your abilities to be able to play the game. So, I mean, there are real rewards, and so there has to be a balance for that.
Of course, that makes sense.
Yeah, we don't want to, we're not looking to spam the blockchain with transactions. We don't want to take down the chains that we launched this game on. So yeah, it'll be start stop. There, of course, other stuff outside of the battles may have transactions. If you buy something in game, that'll, of course, cause a transaction. I think there was some discussion this past week in the Discord about things like leveling up a hero may require transaction just to record the statistics or the points that you allocate. And equipping equipment on a hero is likely to incur a transaction before you go into a battle. But the goal here is really to let you play the game and not spam transactions at every turn.
Yeah.
Really want to be cognizant of that and sort of minimize those.
Yeah.
We don't want to be
Sure.
like one particular game that we're not talking about, I guess.
Yeah. No comment.
Go ahead, Tal. You were saying something.
Oh, I was just going to say that the transactions are just going to be data transfers from off chain to on chain. So, I mean, anything you would think of that would be part of the necessary information is what's going to get transferred. So, what characters you're using in the battle, the weapons you're using, and I'm guessing you select all that before you start. And then there's a transaction. You play the game, then there's a transaction. But that's just, the way I'm foreseeing this happening. I can, North can correct me if I'm saying that wrong, but I think that's right.
Do we have more questions?
I think it sort of goes back to what we talked about during episode 1, where the game is designed for gameplay first. We want to, this is the whole model. We're sort of changing play to earn. We are approaching it as play and earn. We want you to be able to play the game, have fun, get invested in the characters, really work on these strategies and dive in that way, and earn real rewards on top of it. We don't just want you. We're not trying to make a yield farm that's dressed up as some sort of game. This is a legitimate game that is fun to play. We've been playing it. Spoiler alert, we've been playing it and it's fun. I'll just log on and start playing just to see what's new, what's going on, learn more about these abilities, learn different strategies and stuff. It's good. And that a part of that, a big part of that, I think, is not making you guys pay gas all the time, constantly.
Another question. System seems complicated so that it won't be botted. So this was a question that was asked in the Discord, and I can tell you that the developers are going to be extremely aggressive in making sure that people can't ruin this experience, because the experience is the playing and the economy, because it's a shared economy. It's the game player's economy. And so we who play the game and care about the game, we don't want to have it ruined by bots. I guess that's the best way to say it. So are going, I mean, it's part of the strategy to figure out, to do what we can. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the complicated nature of this game, it's not just a coin flip game. So I suppose you could bot any game, but you'd have to be able to teach it to do what it needs to do. And that's beyond me. So
this is definitely going to be a very difficult game to bot. But again, if someone wants to bot the game enough, they will find a way, probably. but
Yeah.
it's gonna be very troublesome, I think.
But I do think with the technology, North said that they're going to be able to tell when somebody's
Hmm.
trying to game the system, and they can create ways to reduce that individual's reward, I guess. Maybe I'm probably saying that wrong, but I know that we talked about that a little bit, and that was a big concern. So it's definitely on the mind for anybody. It's definitely on the mind.
Okay, looks like we're about to die here, and it's pretty well because we are also out of time. So I guess that's it's pretty good end. Do we have any more questions? We can maybe take the last question if there are any, and otherwise we will just end it here. And thank you guys for coming by.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yes. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this preview, both of the replay system and also the live gameplay. And I hope you guys will come back on next Sunday, for the next one. We will probably be showing more replays. Maybe we will show new features if we have anything new added in the last week, or in the coming week, that is. Last week compared to Sunday. So yeah, and we'll see if we can get more people on. Maybe we can have some special guest or something, but that'll be probably there'll be more information about that throughout the week. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed what we had to show this time. And
I have one more comment from North. He says you can play uninterrupted. So I take that as you can start a battle and play depending on the type of game that you choose, you could play battle after battle after battle, and you don't necessarily have to. You don't necessarily have to stop to go off chain.
Oh, so you can like combine multiple battles into one transaction, so to speak, in a way.
Right. Oh, and also the encounters are themed appropriately. So like cemeteries would have endless mode. Won't okay, never mind. I take that back.
Okay, so we just I guess we just got confirmation that there won't be like there won't be a specific endless mode, but yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely come back next week if you're interested for more, both more lore, but also more of this gameplay. Maybe if we have time for gameplay, we can do that. Otherwise, we will do more replays. That's for sure. It's a little bit easier to manage because we also have to pay attention to other things. But on slow streams like this, gameplay is totally fine. We can do that, and I think it also makes it very interesting, even if we don't answer many questions. So definitely something nice to do. But yeah, we're already going a bit over time now, so we have to end it. So once again, thank you guys. And yeah, I hope to see everyone again on Sunday. So
see ya.
Yeah, see you everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.